Warning. This video contains graphic content not meant for young viewers. Viewers' discretion is advised. You have been warned. I began sobbing loudly, and the creature laughed in my face as it twisted its bone shards around my abdomen. I felt flesh tear and could feel one of my ribs beginning to protest under the pressure. I tensed up my whole body, trying to block out the pain by focusing on keeping my muscles as constricted as possible. But it was no use. I heard a sudden crack and screamed. The pain was drowning me. There was a little shimmering halo around my field of vision. I could feel my head pounding. I could feel my heart drumming mercilessly in my ears. But most of all, I could feel the splinters of broken bone digging themselves into my flesh. The creature's grin was so wide now that it looked like a long carved scar that stretched across its entire face. Still grinning, it fondled my lungs, which caused me to gasp and choke. At this point, I was beginning to seriously wonder why I had not yet died. No man on the face of this earth could endure such brutal torture. With each sharp inhale of air I made, the creature gave a moan of delight. It was sickening. Then, without warning, it brought its deformed appendages down on either side of my exposed ribcage and broke them all at once. It was just like how a karate master chopped through layers of concrete. And let me tell you, I knew how it felt to be those slabs of concrete then. I felt the upper half of my body give way and elongate as my heart and lungs fell out of my body and hung loosely before me. I could see my heart beating rapidly in front of my eyes. The creature took a moment to take in my suffering and cocked its head, studying my reaction. I was now mimicking the incomplete perfectly, screaming my fucking head off. When it was done appreciating its handiwork, it shoved its sharp bones into my body again, slightly below my ribcage. I could feel my organs churning and flopping around, no doubt being shredded to bits by its massive arms. It paused for a moment and made a twisting motion. It was like it was cranking a lever, and I felt a rush of warm liquid travel up my throat and spew out of my mouth. At this point, I had grown accustomed to throwing up, until I glanced at what was my chest coupled with big blobs of saliva. I gasped a lungful of air and felt a sharp pain as my exposed lungs jabbed into a shard of bone from my former ribcage. I saw my intestines tumble out of my abdomen and heard the warm, squelching slap they made as they hit the ground. Parts of them were still dangling out of me. Words cannot describe the feeling. The creature took another pause, breathing heavily, no doubt having another euphoric experience by my mutilation. And then it just sighed and walked away. Was it over? The last part of me that was still sane held on to the possibility that it was. I relaxed and felt the warm liquids drip down my chest. I was becoming very aware of the fact that my organs were becoming very dry and produced a great deal of friction every time I drew breath. Every time it happened, I wanted to vomit. The stuff on the ceiling was still plopping onto my head. I didn't care. Although what followed next makes me wish I did. It might have prepared me a little for my fate. I think I slept some more because I remember being hit across the face and glancing blurrily around to see the ungodly thing sneering at me, a finger length away from my face. Beside it was an enormous mound of that hideous dirt. There was a steady trickle coming from the ceiling, adding little amounts to the already gargantuan pile. All of a sudden, I realized that the ceiling wasn't the ceiling at all, but rather the ground. I was underneath the fucking city, and the blasphemous stuff was leaking down into my prison. I had a chilling feeling that the stuff may even have been sentient. Before I could ponder on this for a second longer, the creature stuffed its bony claws into the dirt. It hissed and fizzed as great heaps of it were picked up. It seemed to cause discomfort to the demon being, because I could see that its leer had been replaced with a look of endurance. The reason for the creature's pain became clear when I looked again at the dirt in its great arms. The little remaining flesh was being stripped off of its bones, steaming as it fell away. The creature held its dirt-filled bones out towards me, forcing me to breathe the dirt in. The smell was vaguely like a cross between fermented onions and a dying animal. I gagged, and that brought the smile back on the creature's face. I tried to plead. I tried to plead with the thing to stop what it was doing, whimpering and sniveling as it reached into the hole in my stomach and deposited the dirt within me. As soon as the deathly shit was placed, I felt the vastest feeling of depression, anger, fear, loathing, and hatred I've ever felt in my entire life. My eyes rolled in their sockets as chemicals in my body shot around in every direction. Memories of my deepest, darkest secrets came flooding back to me. Events that left me feeling empty, cold, and bitter all suddenly were relived. Every cuss, mean-spirited, and spiteful thing, every dirty thought, every injury, and every ill-hearted thing directed towards me was reawakened and amplified. They saturated my head. I feel like I was about to explode with negativity. Between all the flashes of images and sounds of suffering, I could hear the creature laughing and could feel more great handfuls being thrusted into my body, the memories intensifying with every heap. Throughout the entire thing, I was screaming. Once all the dirt had been stuffed into me, replacing my organs. The memories of every sick feeling in my life were pounding in my head so hard and so fast that I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel anything else. It was all that remained. I had no choice but to watch as I was shown every bleak, disgusting aspect of everything I ever experienced. And I screamed. Watch and scream. Watch and scream. Watch and scream. To whoever finds this, take it as a word of warning, because I now realize what all this is. This is my eternity. This is everyone's eternity. It has been every single person's fate, every person's reason, and indeed every person's very purpose since the day they were born to face this torment. I understand that I was dead from the start. How I died, I still don't know. But I know it was before all this. And I also understand what the dirt is now. It is sin. It's our sin. And our destiny is to face it. To face every sin we ever committed until the end of time. Over and over and over again. My only advice to you is this. Be good to your fellow man. And try to avoid confrontation whenever possible. Who knows? It might just soften the blow. Well, that was a little morbid. But hey, at least it had a good moral at the end, right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is the last part of Dirt. If you're interested in watching more, you might want to stay tuned and probably hit that subscribe button. If you can't wait for another update for next week, why don't you try watching the other videos or head over to my side channel with awkward Let's Plays. Again, this was the explicit censor. Thank you so much for watching. Hope I'll see you around sometime. Bye!